And I'm going to start the meeting. I think most of you know me. I'm Dave Hull. I'll be the host for tonight's meeting. Tonight is going to be the last competition of the year. And we've got one more meeting that I think Oz will probably address later on. The schedule is I'm going to basically, kind of get going on some things. I'll turn the meeting over to Sean Slade, who's going to talk a little bit about programs for 2021. Then Oz will come on and he has some words to say to members, and then we'll introduce Larry, and Larry can introduce Wendy, and away we go. But I guess before I turn the meeting over to Sean, I would first like to say thank you to Larry, because I think Larry has been doing the competition co-chair or competition chair literally for 4 years and maybe a little bit longer. So I just wanted to address that and say thank you very much, Larry, for all your
Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
And I think the other person that I would like to say thank you to, who kind of, goes unnoticed a lot, is Bob Bartlett, because Bob is our projectionist and spends a lot of time kind of organizing things and making things run smoothly. So I wanted to say thanks. As long as I've been in the club, Bob's always been the projectionist. So I just wanted to kind of give a shout out to Bob. And with that, I'll kind of turn this over to Sean, and we'll get on with our meeting. Thanks everybody for attending, and wish you a very, very happy Thanksgiving tomorrow.
Hey, thanks, Dave. So I'll be taking on programs again in 2021. Dave may help out if necessary, but I guess I'll be trying to round up some people to present to us. And wanted to kind of touch on the first few we have lined up next year. Carl has already put on the website on January 13th, we'll have Bob Dean, and he's going to give a talk about the Eastern Plains of Colorado. Probably, with those things to the left of us, that's the way we all who grew up here learn where west is. We all seem to gravitate towards the mountains, but I think, with the history of the Eastern Plains, Bob was going to talk about that and take us on a little pictorial journey of Eastern Colorado. February, we're going to have Tom Cooper, who's going to do a photojournalistic program on the East Troublesome fires. I saw a story about him on one of the local news channels, probably a Twitter feed or something, and reached out to him and asked him if he would be interested in presenting to us on what he saw and experienced with the East Troublesome fires. So I think that sounds pretty exciting. March 10, David Kingham, if you're not familiar with David. Jennifer, if you remember Jennifer Renwick last year, David is her partner, and he's going to give us a program on what to photograph during Blue Sky Day. A lot of people will think it's blue skies out, put their camera away, but he's going to tell us what to do elsewhere. And so that's going to be the first quarter of 2021. I've got some more slots out there, and I know, Wendy, you gave us a great presentation on fall colors. I may have to reach back out to you for next year, see if you've got anything new in the program books that you may be interested in showing us.
Yeah.
So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Oz to say a few words, and then he'll turn it over to Larry from there. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thanks, Sean. Yeah, so I wanted to say just a few words about this past year. It's been kind of tough with the COVID infections and not being able to meet in person. But I want to thank everybody for submitting pictures and keeping the club going, even though it was really hard. Unfortunately, we couldn't meet together, and the camaraderie that we enjoy when we get together just didn't happen, or not very well anyway. But that's how it is. So, as Sean said, next year, next year we'll be, I guess Dave said, next year we'll be doing all Zoom meetings unless things improve a lot. So I just wanted to mention that. And this past year when we started, we were meeting Wednesdays and Fridays, but this coming, we're going to be meeting on Wednesdays only. So second and fourth Wednesdays. hopefully that'll be better for people. And then the last meeting of the year will be December 11th, when we'll vote for the people who are nominated to fill various positions. We'll also announce the winners for the various categories, and also the levels, well, the people who advance from one level to the next. So for example, going from F5.6 to F8, that will be announced. And Gwen Pena will be doing the awards again, making the awards for us again, and those will be sent out to the people who deserve the awards. Yeah. But, and also a lot of people have been involved in running the show, running the club this year. And since this is probably the last meeting where we have the most people around, I thought we should give some thanks and recognition to the people who have kept the club going. And the first person I want to acknowledge is Carl. He does our website and newsletter and a lot of other things. Most people don't see him, some might not know, but he's done an outstanding job to keep the club going. Deserves a huge thanks from all of us. And he'll be doing it again this coming year. So many thanks, Carl.
Thank you very much, Oz.
You're welcome. Then, yeah, David mentioned that Bob Bartlett has done a wonderful job. I was going to say the same thing, but they beat me to it. And Bob has also offered to do this again next year. And it's not an easy job. So many thanks to Bob. Also, Carl's involved. Carl's involved with that as well. So Bob and Carl together collect the pictures we send in, and then they're presented. It's not a small job. And the treasurer, Ron Schaller, has been treasurer, and he's offered to do that again next year. So I'd like to acknowledge his work, and many thanks to Ron. For the secretary position, Bill Williams has offered to do it again. He's been doing it this year. And he's also been doing the calculations for the competitions. So Bill, thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
The, Dick York's been doing the membership this year, membership position. And Larry has offered to do that this coming year. So I want to thank Dick for being membership chair last year. Also, Dick's been responsible for allowing us to meet at the Civic Center. And he's been helping or talking to the people there, and they've made improvements to the room. So that's been really great for us. So Dick, thank you very much for that. Okay. We'll hopefully be able to meet at the Civic Center again someday. And Dick was also the special projects person, and I'll be taking over that this coming year. The competition position has been run by Larry, and Dave said again that he's been doing a wonderful job. I was going to say the same thing, so many thanks, Larry. It's been great for 4 years, pretty outstanding. A lot of work too, so many thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Oz.
The program chair has been Sean with the help of Dave, and Sean's come up with just wonderful programs all year long, really outstanding. And as he said, has lined up a number of programs this coming year. So also many thanks for doing that and for volunteering to do it again this coming year. And Gwen Patton has offered to do the vice president to fill that position. I was originally vice president this year, and then when Clint, when the virus came, Clint couldn't spend the time anymore. He was involved with taking care of his kids and with his job. So that didn't happen. Yeah, and then don't want to forget the competition committee that Butch Mazuka and Cliff Stockdale have volunteered for. and which has lined up judges for all of next year. And together with Cliff, they've picked out the special topics and written all the definitions. And the definitions will be available soon on the website. So great job on that, and thanks for volunteering for this coming year. Finally, I am again volunteering to be president of the club. So there are a lot of people who are involved in keeping this club going, and so thanks to everybody. And by having a top-notch organization, top-notch website, we'll be able to attract new people. And if you have any suggestions or requests, please let us know. And thanks everybody for participating in the club. So that's about all I have to say. So thank you very much.
You forgot somebody, Oz.
What did I do?
You forgot yourself.
Oh.
You've been keeping this club going, and we're so appreciative of everything you're doing.
Thank you.
You've been an officer and in the past, an executive board, and you stepped forward to fill in the blanks when we needed help, and your expertise and experience is invaluable. And we really owe you a big debt of gratitude, Oz. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So go ahead, and Larry. I think you're next.
My turn.
I think it is, yes.
Are you going to do the soft shoe for us before we sign off? The soft, the dance soft shoe.
Oh, I thought you were going to do that.
No, give me that old soft shoe again. Anyway, Wendy Gedack is our judge for tonight. I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
I'm impressed because I know it's not easy.
Actually, Dave helped me out on that one. But Wendy is a nature and landscape photographer based in Colorado Springs. Photography became an early passion revealed by her desire to capture a glimpse of the vast landscape. Her daily inspiration comes from the magnificence that surrounds her in Colorado. She is often amazed by the changing seasons, time of the day, or the fog lurking over the terrain. She notices something unique and original. The mountains surrounded by the amazing landscape are the perfect palette to express her art form and ultimately incite those viewing her work. It is her hope and desire to inspire others through her images and create an atmosphere of peace and tranquility for the soul through the beauty of our natural environment. So apropos for this Thanksgiving season. So Wendy, we can go ahead. Do you want to add anything to my introduction?
Not really. I mean, you did a great job there. I might just say that my website is at a couple of ways to find it, either wendygedack.com or fineartbywendy.com. So either one will direct you right to the website. And then I just finished finally getting a calendar out. So I have my calendar on there. I'm also going to be participating in a couple of workshops this next summer. I think I mentioned it last time, but it's something a little different. It's storm chase tours. And I have a friend, a photographer that started a business this last year and continuing on this next year, hopefully still running them. Given COVID, we'll see what happens. But if you take a look, it's chasetours.net. If you have a chance to take a look at that website, there's quite a few really great guest leaders that are going to be doing some of the workshops. And some of these names you might have heard before. And if you ever thought about, you know, it would be great to do a workshop with one of these guys, keep that in mind. But Jason Hatfield is going to be co-leading one. Ryan Dyer is going to be co-leading. Bruce Amori from the Hawaiian Islands. He does a lot of great lava photography. And then Miles Morgan is also going to be one of the co-leaders. So take a look, and that's what I'm up to right now. I just did get back from, I was telling Dave I got back from a trip to Zion and finally hiked back to the subway, and that was an amazing hike. It was challenging, but it was pretty awesome. So that's enough about me. This is about you guys tonight. So I appreciate being invited, and sure hope I can help with anything that with critiquing the photography, but also know that it's my opinion. And I mean, you probably have another judge that might judge it a little differently, but take it for what you will, and hopefully you'll learn something. So
you didn't come across the steel monolith that was found? Did you read about that?
No, I didn't read about that.
Yeah, I don't recall where it was, but a helicopter was checking on sheep somewhere, I think it's Utah, and they found a steel monolith that's like 15 feet tall, embedded in rock, in
Really?
a very inaccessible location. 2001 Space Odyssey kind of thing.
Right.
Make sure, please, everybody mute yourself so we don't hear the dog barking or the burps. So, Bob, are you all set?
Ready to go.
Okay. Whirligig revival.
Okay, I like that. I like the, really like the lighting, especially focused on, I think those are seeds there coming off the tree there. I love how the background is darker, and it really, with that lighting in the foreground on the subject there, it really makes that stand out, as well as using the focus that you did. Nice focus on the trees and the leaves, I should say, and the bringing out the. I love the contrast in color too between the greens and the pinks there, and the blurred background really makes that pop. Very nice image. I like the vertical crop on it too. I think that gets any of the more distracting elements out of the background and really draws my eye into that, into those seeds. For any improvement on this photo, I think the only thing that's a little bit distracting to me is there's that the dead leaves off to the left. I think those are leaves, or maybe those are some seeds that are dying. It seems like there's just as much light cast on that as there is to the other subject. And I think because it's a little bit distracting, I would just darken that down a little bit so my eye doesn't get drawn that direction. But otherwise, I think it's a very nice image, and I do like the nice contrast there. So I would give that one a 9.
Fall cloak and sash.
Nice. Look at that color palette. I love the great different colors there with the I think that's scrub oak, from what I can see. I think this is a great image because the lighting on those trees or the scrub oak really make the colors pop. And I appreciate the fall colors when you can find a color palette like that. I know myself, I oftentimes will drive by a scene like this or be, and I'll see it, and I oftentimes want to stop and really try to capture that. And I think sometimes capturing scrub oak for me is a little difficult because I'm trying to isolate the subject. And a lot of times you can get some great abstracts from scrub oak like this, especially with that palette. I think the suggestion I would make is it is a little bright to me. I think I would try to bring down the brightness just a little bit, and maybe add some contrast. And I think just adding some contrast, maybe bringing down the darks a little bit will, and then bringing down the highlights might make those colors pop even more. I wouldn't go crazy because you don't want too much oversaturation or anything like that. But, and then the other thing is maybe doing a little bit of vignetting with that. It might help bring the focus in more toward the center also. But otherwise, I think that's a great image. And I can't tell from, let's see, I just need to move my screen here for just a second. Let's see here. I was just looking a little closer. Go back to full screen. And I'm not sure if it's my screen or not, but I might see dust spots. So just be careful of any dust spots, but it might be just my imagination on my camera. I'm just making sure it's not my computer screen, but just making sure you clean up any of that. But I would give this image an 8.
Well, we only have 2 images in 5-6 group. This is Whirligig Revival by Terry Hanford. Are you here, Terry?
I am.
Hi, Terry. Nice job with that. I really love the lighting that you, and the contrast that you did with it.
Thanks. This was just down in a little pocket park close to me, sort of a COVID autumn shot. So there was this dead leaf, which, and then the green leaves, and then the seeds. So I thought it was sort of the cycle there. So that's what I was trying to capture. Thank you for your comments.
Oh, you're welcome. Nice job.
We'll go on to the F8 now. A bit of gold.
Okay, yeah, very, very nice image. I like this. This is one of those images that I can imagine going through the forest, especially just after a nice rain or the dew staying on a single leaf. And this is one of those images too that you guys should think about doing, like on a blue sky day or a really overcast day. I myself need to do more of this to get out and do some macro photography and or abstracts and stuff. And I just really like how you've isolated this one leaf. That contrast between the dark bark and then the yellow is really great. And it looks like to me you got some decent focus there on the leaf, the center of the leaf, so you can nicely see the droplets on there. And then also I do like that nice blurred background with the green. It just adds a little bit of contrast. You could have cut that out, but I think it adds something to the photo. And this looks like it's a, must be like a square crop. And I do like the square crop on this image. It draws my eye into that leaf even more. Any suggestions? It's kind of nitpicking a little bit, but just maybe adding a little bit of contrast, or I guess it would be the contrast just to make that leaf pop even more. But I'm just kind of being picky there, and you know, a little bit of vignetting too would also draw your eye, but it does directly draw my eye anyway to that center of the leaf and the nice droplets. So I would give this image a 9.
Captured color.
Nice. This is a very nice image too. I like how that's interesting. How is it? I think it looks like a leaf there, just right somehow stuck right there, which is really interesting. And then you have the cobwebs, it looks like, coming through in the drops. That's a very original type of image. I like that. I think the only thing that's kind of distracting is maybe bringing down the bright areas there on the lower right hand side. And that way, I think keeping the lightness on the water droplets and also the web, I really like that. But then bringing down the highlights in that looks like water or rain that's on that bottom right hand side, I think that would make that leaf pop even more, and then also help to see the web in the background. The only other improvement I could think of that might help too is, except for you would end up cropping out some of the web, is making this almost a square crop, or bringing in that right side just to get rid of maybe a little bit of the distraction of that brown in the background, maybe. But otherwise, I think it's a very original. I think I applaud you on originality in capturing that. I would give this image a 7.
Autumn wind.
Oh, that's really nice. I really like the soft tones in this image, and I love the depiction of movement with being able to capture, I think it's cotton coming off of the main stalk there. You did a great job with the crop on it. I think is great, because I think you get the nice effect of what the wind is doing and blowing those pieces, and also that those are in focus and nice blurred background. So great job on that. The colors, I mean, it's not blown out. I don't feel like sometimes on images like this, especially with that white cotton, you can really get, I think it could have gotten a little blown out, but it looks, I really like the lighting on that. I think, and I like the bokeh in the background. I mean, it's just a very nice image, and the contrast of soft colors is very appealing, I think. I think the only thing that I would do to improve it maybe is to just to bring that focus in a little bit more, maybe just add a vignette, but it's not necessary, because that blurred background really makes my eye draw in, and also the white, the nice lighting on there. So I would give this image a 10.
Okay, that's all for F8. We have, this one is Autumn Wind by Cliff Stockdill. Are you here, Cliff?
Yes, I am.
Oh,
And
good.
it's funny, this is just a cattail down at Chatfield Park. Is down there, just kind of shooting some pictures. And it was just very much an offhand shot. I just noticed this little patch of cattails, and the wind was blowing them, and took a few shots, and got back home, looked at it, and it's like, I like that one. I wish I'd spent more time on it, but
Well,
that's about it. I didn't really do. I think I may have put a little bit of vignette around it, or just darken up the corners a little. I don't think I did much more to it than that, though.
Well, nice job. It looks great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cliff. Now we'll go to F11, Forest of Dreams.
Oh, that is dreamy. I could see myself just going in and laying there and spending in the afternoon looking up at the nice blue sky and the contrast with those the yellow leaves. It's beautiful. It's a calming, it has a calming effect, I think, and great use of that color palette. I like the angle that you shot it at too. It gives a unique perspective on those the trees, and then just the really kind of not that it's not a bad thing, it's actually a good thing, kind of exaggerating how tall they are, and I do like that perspective. So nice job thinking of looking up and shooting that way. It looks like it has like some Gaussian blur or the Orton effect on there, and I think it works well though with it. I would be careful not to take it too far, but it does give that dreamy look, and I know that's probably what you were going for, is and it does. It's a very soothing scene. I would just caution not to take it too far, but I think it works with this image. The only other thing I could suggest maybe is the barks of the trees are a little dark, and that might be the intent of the photographer, but I would almost bring, because it looks like they could be more of a white color. So if you brought the highlights out on that, maybe just to emphasize those trunks a little bit, I think that would enhance the image a little bit. But I think you did a great job, and I think the lighting looks great. It's not, I'm not seeing any really major blown out portions of this. And then I'm just looking, it doesn't look like, I don't know, my screen is hard to see too much in detail, but sometimes with these images, especially with trees and branches, you can get haloing or chromatic aberration, but I'm not really seeing anything on this. So good job with that too. So I would give this image an 8.
Water flume in autumn.
Nice. Great scene here. It really, with that track there, it really draws your eye, and the way you used it as a leading line to curve around, it draws me, wants me to see what's around the corner, which I like. I always like being drawn into a scene with a path or these leading lines. That's really, really well done. I'm not sure if it was cropped this way or if you did a panoramic, but I really do like, looks like it's a little more than a 2-to-1 crop, but I like the crop on it. It's very nice. And then your colors, contrast, and the lighting on it is great. It really, the leaves are nicely popping and getting a little bit backlit. Just trying to see, I don't feel like you oversaturated it or anything. It looks like a very natural looking photograph. I have a suggestion just on the left-hand side with those tree trunks. They might be getting a little bit blown out, just a little bit. I would just take the highlights down just a little bit so that they kind of mimic what's going on with the trees on the right-hand side, just to kind of lower that just a little bit. And then be careful with the aspens. I think these are aspens there on that left-hand side too. Some of those leaves are getting a little blown out. I think if the maybe the highlights are just dropped just a little bit, that would make it a little more of an even scene for me. But I can understand too, it depends on the lighting that you are having to work with. But I think that looks great. Only other thing I might add is maybe just a little bit more contrast to bring out some of those colors. But overall, I think it's a very nice image. I would give this a 9.
A fall morning.
Nice. That looks great. I think I really like those, the nice fall colors there, and the slight reflection. And it's kind of nice that you didn't feel like you had to include the entire reflection in there. But I also wouldn't have minded seeing, you know, some more of that, but I think it's nicely cropped the way it is too. And I really like the lighting, that side lighting on the trees is beautiful. I think it's a very nice image. I'm looking at the, I feel like I'm seeing a little bit of haloing on that tree on the left, just at the top. And it's just be careful with that, with your editing, and maybe some banding a little bit. And maybe it's just my screen, but I feel like there's some banding at the top left also. So just be careful with editing that sometimes you can stretch it too far, and then it'll create those bands a little bit. But other than that, I think it's a very nice image. So I would watch for that, and then but otherwise I think it looks great. I would give this image a 7.
What lies ahead?
Nice title on that, because it does draw me in, kind of like that other one with that path there and the trail. It makes me want to see what does lie ahead, and this looks like an amazing place to hike. I would love to hike there sometime. It makes me want to go to this place and hike it. It really draws me into the scene with that pathway. I love the beautiful pops of color with the aspen trees, and I also like the it looks like this is a 3-to-1 panoramic, and that's nice. Nice to get that whole scene in there. I think that the contrasts look great. I think my suggestion might be, I wouldn't mind seeing what this looked more cropped in more on the left-hand side, maybe as more of a 2-to-1 crop. I think that might taking out that evergreen there on the left-hand side is distracting a little bit, or maybe and then maybe bringing in some to get rid of the shadow of the other tree on the right-hand side, and then but still leaving that path on that third over there on the right would be just draw me into the scene even more. I think that would be a suggestion I would make. And then just be careful on just not bumping the saturation too much. The sky's getting a little blue, but I think overall I really like the colors. And then and also just making sure, I think that's why I think if you pulled it in just a little bit from the right, also getting rid of that shadow, it's a little bit of a bright area for me, and my eye's kind of drawn to those rocks there on the right-hand side. And I think cropping that out a little bit, or bringing down the highlights on that, either burning that out or using dodge and burn to kind of take care of that. But other than that, I think it's a beautiful image, and I would give this an 8.
This one is pumpkin with a twist.
Nice. I like that. I like the focus that you zoomed in on this, and just to get the stem. I mean, a lot of times, I think I would have tried to include too much, like with the pumpkins, or more of what's going on around it. But I like how you cropped in on that stem, And then also had the fall leaf colors around too. That one fall leaf is nicely placed there. And I like the blurred background. You have nice focus on it. I think there's great contrasting colors there with the yellows and the greens and oranges, of course. And then the lighting looks great and near focus. It does draw me into that stem, and I think that's what the subject for me is on this photo. And I think that looks nice and sharp and in focus, and the light looks great on it. I think it's a great autumn shot. It's a nice artistic idea to just go ahead and crop it the way you did too. I think that my only suggestion would be, if bringing out that stem a little bit more, you could maybe use some dodging technique to lighten it up, or just to make that stem pop even more, just to add a little bit more lightness to it, or that would draw my eye even more to that area, as well as maybe just a little bit of vignetting. But otherwise, I think it's a great image. I would give this a 9.
Through the Keyhole.
Oh, this is definitely original and creative. And it's with a K too, it looks like there. That's very interesting. It looks like it must have been taken, and you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe through like a cabin keyhole or something, because it looks like it's definitely in the mountains somewhere where you would have some kind of old cabin or mining ruins or something like that. But I like that originality and the creativity to do something different here. And the colors in the background really are nice and make that the image pop there, considering you have, the darkness of the surrounding scene there. I do like that fence line, and also the tracks kind of leading you into that scene also. I think the suggestion I would make is just even though you do want that to be bright, I think I would maybe bring down the blacks a little bit in that scene, and then add a little contrast. Just, it feels like it needs to have a little bit more separation of colors, and I think that would make it pop even more. That would be my suggestion. But kudos for creativity and doing something outside of the box. I like that. But nice done. I would give this image a 7.
You into red aspen leaves.
Very nice. That's a great image. I love the autumn colors there. A lot of times it's difficult to find the reds like that, and but then I do like the contrast with the oranges in the background, the blurred background there coming through. It really helps to make those reds stand out in the foreground. I think it's it looks more of like an abstract feel to me, but it works really well, and you can see the way you were able to capture the focus on those leaves in the foreground. You can really see the definition in the veins of those leaves, and I think those really stand out to me. And I think you did a nice job bringing those colors, the yellows, out in those veins, and it really adds some interest to the leaves, especially with them being so red like that. So it doesn't, I feel like it adds a nice contrast in color. The lighting is good. I don't feel like there's too many lighting issues here. The only thing I can see that might be a little distracting is there's on the upper right-hand corner, there's a little bit of brightness just in the background. I think it's coming from the sky. That could be toned down just a little bit to kind of balance the background lighting or the background sky coming through, like on that left-hand side. I think that would be a suggestion, but otherwise it's not anything major. I think this is a great image, and you know, if I think the cropping is nice on it. I think this would even look nice as a square crop, but I do like the vertical on it. Yeah, I think you did a great job. I would give this image an 8.
Aspens done in oil.
Very nice. I really like that leading path again. You guys must have heard that I like leading paths or something. I don't know. But no, this is another nice one where I love the leading lines and the curves in the path. I also like the use of that V with the trees in the background. That adds a nice interest and brings my eye right into that scene, and does make me want to just walk this path and see again what's around the corner. It's a great fall scene, especially it doesn't look like the leaves that have fallen on the path, it doesn't look like they're disturbed that much, so it adds a nice yellow brick road type of feel to it, and it's a nice fall image for sure. I like the use of like I said, that path to draw you in. I think the only thing I could suggest is I feel like if it was cropped just a little bit at the bottom to take out that brightness of the path that's in that foreground, maybe just cropping it up to where it is a little bit darker, it feels like it would balance out the scene a little bit more to me, and then draw me even more into the scene. And then also the trees on that left-hand side are a little bright. I think I would just bring down the brightness on those a little bit. And I think that would just add a little bit of drama to it, just drawing me into the scene and not be a distraction with that. I think my eyes are drawn just to that lighter area, and I think I would like my eyes just to follow that path a bit more, but nicely done. Only thing I could think of too is, just a suggestion of, if you, instead of cropping it here, that in the field, if you think about maybe going a little bit further and shooting it at different angles and stuff too, I think that would be a suggestion that, I don't know if you could at this, or if it looked just, this is the best spot. So, but just a suggestion on maybe adding a little bit more of those trees at the top too. But I would give this image a 7.
A few colors.
Nice job. I really like that pop of green. That's where my eye is getting drawn to, that green leaf there on the upper left-hand side. But it's a nice contrast with the kind of golden tones and those brown tones of the other leaves. I do see that rock coming through there. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, it's a nice, getting in there on the scene with the kind of more of a abstract or macro shot. And I think my only suggestion is, I think that rock is a little bit distracting to me. I think I would have just either covered it up more with a leaf or something. But that's just my taste or my opinion, but I really do think that it was a great idea to get that one green leaf in there and using the contrast of colors. That's very nice. My only suggestion would maybe doing a little bit more of a contrast to make some of those other leaves stand out a little bit more, but then that might, if you did that, that might not draw your eye to the green one. So I think you would just have to play around with that a little bit to see what you thought after doing that. But I would give this image an 8.
Jump in.
I can see that. It does make you feel that way. Oh, that's great. Beautiful color palette there too. I really like the yellows and the reds. That's very nice. It's like a nice potpourri of color and nice eye-catching popping color too. It doesn't seem to me like there's a lot of distractions. I mean, I don't see anything that would, I'm looking for like a stick or like that rock or whatever that might be a little distracting, but I feel like it's pretty well balanced the way you captured the photo. I think maybe my suggestion would be is to have included, I don't know how it looks like it's a square crop, so I'm not sure if the original image included more of that leaf there on the bottom, that kind of that nice red one, and have included that entire leaf in the image. I think that would have, for me, just stood out more because I think that's a nice pop of color. I enjoy, there's nothing blown out. The colors look great. The lighting looks great on here. I would give this image a 9.
Sleepy Hollow Farm.
Nice. That is a beautiful image. I really like that. There's a lot to see in this image, and I feel like it was well composed. I like the leading lines that you have there in the foreground with the grass. That does draw me right into that pond, and then the building in the background. I like the use of framing that you did with the tree on top there. That looks great. It's very balanced. Like I said, it's very well composed. A very nice image. I like you didn't oversaturate or anything either, which is great. The sky isn't blown out too much. I mean, that one cloud, that would be only distraction for me. That one cloud is a little bright there on the upper left, but it's not bad. It's not completely drawing my eye too far away from the subject. It's a lovely image. I think my only suggestion is maybe taking down some of the highlights a little bit in the foreground and maybe on the pond, and then maybe using some dodging and burning on that building to make it a little lighter, so that is what's the focal point, and kind of lightening down the surrounding scene, maybe that grass in the background too. But I mean, that's just, I'm being picky, I guess, on this image. It's a very nice image. I think there's not a whole lot, except for maybe some of the lighting that I mentioned, that I would do with this image. I would give this a 9.
Autumnal Vista.
Very nice. I can see why it looks like this is another panoramic kind of scene. And I can see why you did it this way. And I like how you did it. You really get a great vast view of the mountains there in the background. And then I do like how you included the trees in the front with the fall color. It really breaks it up. I mean, if you had stepped off to the other one side or the other and not had that, I'm just trying to picture what it would look like without those trees, but I think it really adds a nice element. I don't know if you were able to get higher to bring those down a little bit more, just to have a little bit more of the mountains, but that's just a balance thing I'm looking at. I think I really like that you did include those. A great fall color image and nice palette of color with the greens and the golds. I think it's a very nice image. I'm only seeing, and I don't know if it's my screen or not, but it feels like maybe it's a little blurred in the background, and I'm not sure if that was the intent. I think blurred meaning, or maybe a little pixelated, maybe that's what I'm seeing. They're kind of in the middle portion. It's hard when I can't point at it for you, but in the middle portion, before you get to the background mountains, there's a little bit of a knoll or something there with the brownish, and it feels like maybe it's out of focus or a little bit pixelated, but it might be my screen too. So I don't know. Sometimes that can happen though. I notice if this is a stitched pano, sometimes just be careful to when you're stitching it together, sometimes those things can happen. But I am not positive because I can't really get as close up to it as I'd like to. But it's a great, I really like the scene, and you did a great job with the composition with the sky and the clouds. I think it's beautiful. So I would give this image an 8.
Autumn at Keebler Pass.
Okay, very nice. That's beautiful. It's a great. I've shot on Keebler Pass before, so I appreciate the angle that you shot this at. I know exactly where this is, so it's a very unique angle. I like how you got a different perspective there. The color palette is fantastic, and the sky looks beautiful. I can see that there's a few wispy clouds, it looks like to me from what I can see in the background, and that adds some nice element. I mean, it would be just fine if it was a blue sky, completely blue skies too, but I do like it. It appears to me that there's some wispy clouds in there, and I like that. Great contrast, great lighting. I'm not really seeing anything that's blown out. I mean, I do even like how the aspen trunks are nice and bright, but they're not too bright, but it gives a nice contrast, I feel like, to of white in there. It breaks up so that, because sometimes with these trees, when they're so condensed in one area, it's nice to have those nice white stark aspens to break up the scene. And you've also captured a nice flow of some of the aspens coming in from different directions, and I like that feel. It's a beautiful scene, and I don't have a lot of suggestion except for to say maybe I'm a little. I know why you would probably included those red aspens there on the right-hand side, because it's rare to get the aspens like that. I would say either make this more of a 2-to-1 pano and have included those reds in there, but then it may have unbalance the sky. So you have to be careful with that, or just crop it in a little bit more to get the reds out. Because I feel like for the most part, I'm looking directly into the center trees with those nice aspens, and then up to the ridge there. And so I'm using my hand just to cut that out. And I think that would just clean that up a little bit. But otherwise, I think it's a beautiful image, and I would give this a 10.
10, that's our only 10 image in this category. That's by Bill Rothenberger. Are you here, Bill?
Yes. Yeah, I took this on Kebler Pass. It was a good day. It was sort of maybe an hour before the sunset.
Nice. Well, you did a great job. I like the angle that you shot this at, because I've shot in this area several times, and it's a nice, unique perspective the way you zoomed in on it. So nice job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Nice job.
Bob, we also have 4 9s. Why don't we go through the 9s? This is Water Flume in Autumn by Dave Hall.
Wendy, thank you very much for your comments. I appreciate your constructive remarks on that. This was taken a little bit north of the Purgatory ski area around Durango, the base of Coal Bank Pass. And I believe this was built, this water flume is wooden, and it was built in the early 1900s. And I was just really taken by this, about the engineering required by it, and it was just a beautiful fall day. So that's it. I did add a little bit of color to the lower left-hand corner to bring out the reds a little bit more, because they just needed a little bit more balance. But very little editing.
Well, you did a great job. It's a great scene. I loved it. I love it. So nice job.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thanks, Dave. Pumpkin with a Twist by Gwen Patton. I know you're here.
Yeah, I have to unmute myself. It's obvious that I buy pumpkins for their stems. And I once owned a bed and breakfast, so I had to have a lot of decorations of all kinds all the time. So this is just one of those.
Oh, that's perfect. I love it.
Probably by a front door to a cottage.
I'm gonna say I'll have to come to your bed and breakfast sometime. Looks nice.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gwen. Jump In by Victoria Ashby.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. Like you pointed out, I like the color palette of these leaves, and so I shot it mainly just for the color and their positioning.
Oh, well, you did a nice job. I love the colors.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thanks, Victoria. Yeah, Sleepy Hollow Farm, that's also by Gwen Patton.
Okay, this was taken just north of Stowe, Vermont. Not the ski area, the town of Stowe. That's like in the central part of Vermont. Yeah. And this is a very famous farm. Every photographer in the world that goes to Vermont tries to photograph this farm. And there's to the right of this building, there's all kinds of other buildings and a very nice split rail fence that goes down the road into this farm. Yeah, it's just a great, great place.
Oh, nice job. I think your use of framing there too is a nice touch, because sometimes people won't think about putting the trees like what you did with that framing with the trees at the top, and that really adds to that scene. So nice, very well done. So
yeah, thank you. Yeah, I got up on the road actually I was off the grass entirely. But then I saw these lines in the field. And so then just tried to frame it from above with a tree.
Yeah. Nice job. You did a great job.
Yeah, thanks, Gwen.
You're welcome.
Okay, now I'll go into F16. This is body waves.
That is a really cool image. But I'm trying to figure out how you got that. I don't know what that is, but it's very interesting, and it's playing with my eyes, because if I look at it one way, I see the V's going up one direction, and then it's like I was looking, and now they're just going up the one direction, but the other time I looked at it, it felt like they moved around. So it's almost like one of those scenes, like when you look at it for longer, you might see something a little different. But now that I'm looking at it a little closer, I feel like it's a repetition of like body, like legs or something, I think. I don't know, but whatever it is, it's very well done. I like the black and white definitely goes well with this image. I like the composition also because of the V's heading up from the bottom right up. And then just how the waves go in from the left to the right. I love that. And then the whites and the blacks are just a great contrast. It's a very artistic image, and abstract. I really think you did a great job with changing it to black and white. I don't know what it would have looked like in color, but just the gray tones and the whites and the blacks work really well together. I feel like the longer I look at it, I see something a little different, and I like that. And like I said, my eyes are drawn toward that V section, so the use of the V's is really, really cool. I can't think of much to improve on this, except for maybe just to bring down the highlights there on the upper right, but I think that was the intent. I mean, that's being really picky. I feel like that's the way the movement is, and that's the way that my eyes are drawn and go right up then through that upper right hand side of the screen. So I mean, I think that would be a matter of taste to bring that down, just those highlights down a little bit. But I would give this image a 10 for artistic and creativity. It's very well done.
Got milk?
I really like this image too. This is great. It's very artistic, I almost feel like it's a painterly feel to it. But I love the use of those jugs there, the milk jugs, I take it, since the title was Got Milk. Great contrast in color. I love that yellow even pop in the background on that red brick wall. The red of the cart, the silver on those canisters really add a nice contrast element there. I think this is a great image. There's not anything distracting to me. I feel like my eye isn't being drawn too much into any of the lighter areas. I do like the dark background on the upper right, I should say. And it just adds, because it's not dead space to me. I feel like with that handle, that red handle going up and through that back area, really fills that space. And so it's not anything that I would do anything with. I think it's a very nice image. I'm trying to figure on something that I would improve with it. I just really, I think it's a nice, and it's nicely cropped. I like the crop on it. It would just be picky. I mean, maybe that can on the far left, just bring down the highlights just a little bit, but I think it's a very nice, well done image, and nicely cropped, and the colors are great. I don't think you oversaturated anything. I think it actually adds to it and brings out those silver canisters. So I would give this image a 10 also.
Hot rodding through fall colors.
That's awesome. I really like this. This is very nice. And it's kind of fun because you have I like the, I mean, this would be a nice image without those cars on there, but it's mimicking, I feel like the colors of the cars are mimicking the colors of the fall color, which is fantastic. I love that. The road, it adds a nice touch to lead you into the scene. And then, you know, having shot 3 cars, I like the use of 3s there. I think that looks great, and they're nicely spaced. The cars aren't like too bunched together, or I think they're nicely spaced. And then of course, the fall color just really draws me into the scene too. I think this image is great. The only thing I can say that would be an improvement is maybe adding a little bit more contrast. I do like the, I think the brightness on the yellow car in the front, that's where my eye is kind of drawn first, but I like that. It's not over, I don't think it's overly bright, but you could play around with that just to see bringing down the brightness on that roof, maybe just a little bit, but that would be another suggestion. The only thing that's just a little distracting to me, because it is bright, and I don't know if you could just take down the brightness of it, but the asphalt where it ends there on the right-hand side, and then there's the gravel. That gravel seems a little bright to me, and either bringing that down or cropping the image in a little bit more just to get rid of that in the scene. That would just be a suggestion, but otherwise I think this is a very well composed image, and I would give this a 9.
Moonlight and steel.
That is a very cool image. I really like this. It's a great use. I love the silhouettes of the steel structures in the foreground, and then that blue sky in the background it feels like just past blue hour or something, because I like that gradient of the blue and the purples and the sky. Really bring out the sky. That's very nice. The moon there in the background, that's a perfect use of, for me, it's just a nice, I mean, without the moon, I'm just picturing it without the moon, and it would be a great image without the moon, but with the moon, it really adds that nice white pop in the background, especially given the dark silhouettes in the foreground. I really like that. It's a great color palette, very well done. I think I'm not sure if it's my screen maybe, but the moon feels like it has maybe a halo around it. So I'd just be careful with that to see if you could bring that down a little bit. But it feels like there's maybe like a blue halo or something around the edge of that. The only other thing I would suggest, just I don't know if you can move while you were shooting this, but to have gotten, I think it's a neat perspective with the moon being obstructed a little bit, but I also wouldn't mind seeing it with the moon in between those two metal structures. And that would just be, I guess, moving a little bit, or positioning yourself so that the moon was in the middle. But maybe that's just my preference. But otherwise, I think this is a lovely image. I would give this image a 10.
Mountains of color.
Beautiful colors. Yeah. I like the perspective on this. It almost gives me a feel of like a drone type of image, but it also could be that you were up pretty high and looking down this valley. And using that, I love the S curve almost in the valley there, with the yellow and orange trees leading me into the scene and the river. Yeah, that was a great use of getting that vein of trees going up through there. I like the sun rays coming down through. That looks great. I think I would be a little careful with the sharpening. Maybe I feel like it might be just a little over sharpened, but so I'd be a little careful with that. And then also sometimes with the sharpening and contrast, you can get the saturation can tend to get a little too saturated. So I just be careful with that also. But I also love the pop of colors. I do like my image. I like to do images that are more saturated anyway. So I think it's a preference thing with the photographer. So, and with their editing style. The only thing that's kind of distracting to me is that dead tree that's in the foreground there on the lower right-hand side. I would maybe try to see how I could have gotten that out of the image, but it feels like a distraction a little bit to me. And then maybe bringing down the highlights or the brightness of the sky just a little bit on the left-hand side where the sun is coming through. And then the river seems a little hot to me too, that it's pretty bright. So if there's a way, either using dodging and burning to bring down that the brightness, I think in that river will help with that. But overall, it's a very nice fall scene. I think it's a beautiful image. I like the vertical crop on this, and I would give this an 8.
Not ready for winter.
Me neither. Very nice. I love that road leading me into this scene. Looks great. And then the trees there and the nice contrast of the evergreens in the background add, the nice contrasting color. And I always like the use of leading lines. You guys are using leading lines great. I think it's wonderful to see that. I love those trees are beautiful. They that yellow color. I feel like I can't tell I think it's the sun that's really drawing me to the brightness of that middle section of trees. And I don't think it's too bright. I think it's nice and kind of having the focus there. But also on the road too, I can see there's a brightness to the road, and that really draws me into the scene, and I like that going around the curve there. I think the only thing I think that would make maybe those trees, I mean, not that they need to stand out anymore, because they do stand out just fine by themselves, but the background maybe bringing down the blacks just a little bit on the evergreens, especially where there's there's kind of a lighter area in the middle section. I think I might just bring that down just a little bit to kind of balance out what's the darker evergreens, kind of bring them down about, to make them darker like the evergreens on the right. And that would, I think that lightness is distracting me a little bit, but other than that, I think the other thing to watch maybe on this image are the trunks of the trees seem very dark. Is that try not to make them too dark, just so it looks a little more realistic, I think, in this image. But otherwise, I really like the color palette and, you know, being drawn into the scene with that road and the curve. I would give this image an 8.
Mountain tapestry.
Nice job. I love that old rundown cabin there in the foreground. It does make me want to go and explore that and see, you know, I'm visualizing the history of whoever built that and lived there and got to actually live and be in the scene, you know, daily. It'd be a great place to live. And I like that old country feel there with the, I don't often see cabins that still have like the chimney on the side there. That's really interesting. I like that. The whole structure itself is really interesting. And then how it's surrounded by all the fall color. This is a very nice, well-balanced scene. I like the fact that you didn't put too much sky in there, but you also didn't clip off the trees at the top. I think that looks great. And the color contrast with the greens and the golds are beautiful. I think on this image, I would just add maybe a little bit more contrast to give some definition to some of those trees in the background, and not the evergreens in per se, but those the yellow trees. And I think those would stand out a little bit more. But no, I think it's a very nice image. Only other suggestion I could say is to be careful on both the left and right hand side. Those evergreens there just cropped just a little bit. Maybe just including the full tree in there would be a suggestion, but otherwise I think it's a very nice crop. I would give this image a 9. It's nice.
It's mountain tapestry.
Is it mountain tapestry?
That's what it says.
It is mountain tapestry, yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, it is a beautiful tapestry of color there. That's a nice title for it. I love the crop on this. I think you did really well with the crop on this. And there's a couple of things that I'm seeing that I really kind of balance out this image. Not only the colors are nicely balanced, but I like having the trees on the right-hand side, and then that rocky outcropping on the left-hand side is the way you composed it. It's very well done, especially given the fact that you're zoomed in and having to just crop in on this little section. Sometimes that's hard for me even to, I see a scene like this and I'll shoot some images and then I'm not really happy with it, but I would have been happy with an image like this to be able to include that rocky outcropping, because I see that a lot in nature when I'm traveling, and especially for fall color. And I like the fact that you were able to incorporate that and get this type of tapestry, as you call it, of color, because that's exactly what it is. Those reds are amazing. I love seeing reds like that. it seems like this year we didn't see as many reds, or at least I didn't when I was out. But the oranges and the greens and the yellows, everything's very nicely lit, and nothing's blown out. Nothing. I'm not getting distracted by anything. I think the trunks on those aspens are a great color too. They're not too bright. There aren't any major bright areas in this scene, I don't think. I mean, it would be picky, but I would say just maybe bring down the brightness on the rocks a little bit on the rock outcropping, but and maybe the blacks a little bit, and that would just add some more definition to those rocks to make them stand out. And because my eye does get a little bit drawn that direction. And then behind that, the one evergreen that's most prominent in the foreground on the left-hand side, it seems a little like the blues behind it are a little distracting to my eye, but I mean, that's just I'm just being picky. So, you know, I maybe bringing the highlights in those down a little bit, and so that they're not as prominent, or it's not as prominent. But I know this is a very nicely done image, and like I said, I like the crop on it. I think it's a beautiful image. I would give this a 9.
Between the mittens.
Very nicely done photo. I'm just really taking this all in because not everybody can go and, you know, this must be, I think this is down by Page, Arizona, somewhere in Arizona. It looks like, well, the mittens, I think, are in that area, so that makes sense. But not only did you get to a location like this with a scene like this, but also waited for, this must be sunset, you know, to get those colors in the sky, and that lighting on her is just spectacular. So getting the colors in the sky like that, as well as still having the sun up enough to get that nice glow on your subject is spectacular. I love that. She's got such a nice warm glow on her face, and it's not blown out. And I love that you had her looking towards the sun that way, and not just directly at the camera. I think that's a nice artistic element in there. I love that blanket she's sitting on. Very well composed. I mean, I love that you have the mittens spaced out, and I just think it's the colors are great. I love the warmer tones to it, as well as then kind of that contrasting purple in the background and the blues even, and in the sky. So I think that's very well done. And the only suggestion I would maybe have is her skirt is a little bright to me, but that's, you know, to maybe just bringing down the brightness of her skirt a little bit. But other than, I mean, it's not that distracting to me, and it's not that blown out, but that would just be a suggestion. And then just be careful maybe with the shadows on either side, but I think it looks nice like that too, because then you have the nice contrast with the rock formations. I think this is a very well done image. I would give this a 10.
This is fall fantasy.
Okay.
This is a beautiful image. It's, and I might be wrong in this, but I feel like it's on the East Coast somewhere, maybe, as I haven't seen anything like this in Colorado, but you could surprise me, I guess. So it's very beautiful, very well composed. I love the vertical crop on it is perfect, especially with the river coming down through all those rocks, leading me up to that bridge. The bridge is fantastic. I love that bridge. I think it makes for a great image. The framing at the bottom with the bushes there is well done. I also like the mix of colors that you were able to capture, and even those reds there at the top. It looks beautiful. Very well composed. I love your composition and the colors, and it's very well done. I don't even think I would change much with contrast and stuff. And your saturation, I think, throughout the scene is just spot on. I don't know if you had a filter that you could have put on just to slow down the water movement and had a longer exposure. That would be my only other suggestion, but I think that's a matter of taste too, because I like seeing the roughness of the water here. But I think my only other suggestion was maybe using a long exposure with an ND filter and slowing down the water so you get that smoothness. But that would be the only thing I would suggest changing. Otherwise, there's not any overly bright areas in the scene. It's very well balanced, and there's somewhat of it's a soft color palette, but it also has some striking colors in it too. So I think it's a very well done photo. I would give this one a 10 also.
After rain.
Nice. I like the fact that you were able to get out and capture a scene like this after rain. A lot of times you do get these great cloud formations and fog coming up through. It really adds a lot of interest to the scene. I love that. And I think that's great that you were able to get out, and it's not a scene that you would see every day either. It's more of a unique capture because you don't get to see that all the time unless there is some weather moving in or like this after a rain. So to be able to be out there in the field and capture that was great. Also looks like this might be a 2-to-1 crop, and I like that because you're really adding a lot to the scene here. I like that there's the contrast of gold in the front, and then in the foreground, I should say, and then in the middle, there's some more reds and oranges, and then, just a nice balance of color, the color palette throughout. It's a great fall scene. And then, of course, capturing, like I said, the clouds and that fog movement. I can imagine being there and actually seeing it dissipate and move around in the scene, and that's some of my favorite types of photography to do. So it's nice. I think maybe just I think it's a great image. I think maybe just bringing down the brightness of the clouds a little bit. You could do like a graduated filter on the top, just from the very top of the image down to the ridge, maybe just to darken the sky a little bit, and that would bring down some of the brightness in the clouds, I think. And then in the foreground, I'm just looking here, I think maybe bringing down the blacks just a touch, it would add a little bit of contrast and pop of color to some of those, especially after a rain. I know that these scenes can be really can get real saturated looking when you're shooting them, because it just seems to add a lot of color to the landscape after a rain. And so I think just to bring that out and have a little bit of contrast and pop, I think maybe just bringing down the blacks a little bit might do that, and get a little bit more separation with the reds and the yellows and oranges that are in that scrub oak. I think that would really enhance the colors there, because the colors on the color contrast on the lower left-hand side is just perfect. It's like a very nice, you can really get that separation of the scrub oak and the aspens there and the evergreens. And I think you would have that same effect on that middle section if you isolated that area and brought down the blacks a little bit. I think you would get a little bit more color separation with the yellows and the reds and oranges on the scrub oak. But otherwise, it's a very nice scene. And like I said, I think the sky could be a little less bright, a little bit of vignetting might help here too, just to draw your eye towards the center and have my focus my focus and attention go towards that middle section. But very nicely done. I would give this image an 8.
This is discarded but beautiful.
I love that. That's a very nice image. Very cool how you isolated that and have the black background. I think that it just makes that image pop, and you can see all the veins in that leaf and the colors. I really like the colors of the there toward the bottom, the green, and it's very striking. It's a very striking image. And I think I don't think it's haloing or anything. I think it's just the edge of that leaf coming out. But it really defines that leaf against that black background. And I think that's very well done. I can't think of anything I would do so much to change it. Maybe, just getting nitpicky, maybe down towards the tip of the leaf, that edge of white is maybe a little bright. I mean, just maybe bringing that down so it matches the rest of the white around the leaf. But I would give this image a 10.
Midwinter hoarfrost.
Oh, that's cool. This is another one of those images that you just have to be there to be able to capture something like that, because this doesn't happen all the time. And by afternoon, a lot of that probably melted off the trees. So very nicely captured. I like the panoramic on it. It's a great winter scene, capturing that snow. I like the lighting on all the trees. It's that almost like a side lighting, but really brings out the sparkle of that ice and snow on the trees. Like I said, I do like the panoramic. On this one, I think I would maybe bring down the brightness on the right or the left-hand side. My eye is drawn in that direction, and maybe bring up that brightness a little more in the middle, because it seems like it's a little brighter on either end, but so my eye's getting drawn to either side of the image. Either that or cropping it in even just a little bit on that right-hand side to more of a 2-to-1 crop. Would also help with the distraction maybe for me a little bit, because then I feel like there's a lot of sky then left, and that would bring down the sky a little bit, I think, on that right-hand side. But overall, I think it's very well done. And I do like, I love panoramas myself. So I would say more of a 2-to-1 on this one, but, and then bringing up the brightness in the center part of the image and then darkening down the edges a little bit. I would give this image an 8.
Just say 8?
Yes.
Yeah. Got gas?
That's awesome. Great image. I love the color contrast. I love the that nice blue pop in the background really makes those gas pumps stand out. The brick, I think it's really neat, that kind of that old feel to it, and garage, the garage door. I really like this image. It's a very nice image. I think the only thing that's kind of distracting to me, and I don't know if just bringing it in on either side, there's the, I feel like there's, I think they're planters of some type, and those are just a little bit distracting, but just to either crop it in a little bit more or remove those in the shot, I think that would be the only suggestion that I have for this image. Otherwise, it's very well balanced, and like your crop on it, and the color scheme. I would give this image a 9.
Morning light.
Very nice. This is a great fall scene here. I think it's great having that nice contrast again with the blue sky and the yellows in the trees. I feel like the clouds are a nice addition to this whole scene. A lot of times, especially like the last couple of years, it seems like we haven't had a lot of clouds. So getting fall color with the clouds anymore, I'm like, oh, there's clouds. But I do like that. I would just be careful a little bit with the sharpness of the clouds to make them not too sharp and make them more realistic. I feel like that maybe that's either a sharpness thing here or a contrast, because I feel like the trees are a little bit maybe too sharp also, but just to be careful not to overdo the sharpness. I do like, I can see I'm on this, there's a lot of leaves that have fallen on the ground there on that lower left-hand side, and that's a nice addition to this image and in those certain spots. I feel like that there could be a little bit more contrast in color, and maybe bringing down the yellows a little bit and bringing up the greens. I feel like there should be, the green should be a little bit more saturated, and then maybe the yellows dialed down a little bit, and that would add a little bit of contrast. But I would give this image an 8.
Canadian colors.
Very nice. That's really a cool image. I like it that it is more of a 2-to-1 crop on this, even though I love this image. And where I was going with that is that having, because it is, you are shooting wildlife, it's cool to see the crop like this, I should say. And I'm not sure if you were using a telephoto or whatever, but it's very well done. And the composition with him coming right at you, I love that. And you're also, very well done with focus, because I can see that he's moving, and so to be able to get him in focus and while he's moving, and also then conveying that movement towards you. I love that. The use of colors in here is fantastic. I love the rocks in the foreground. I love the rocks behind him throughout the scene. Nicely balanced. I mean, I say nicely balanced. Sometimes these images are really difficult to get when you're trying to shoot a subject like this that's moving at you and it's wildlife, and you can't just tell them to stop. Hey, let me move my camera around. But so very well done. I love the reds in the front, with the balance with the greens in the back, and those reeds the reeds of grass coming up through in the middle section. Those really stand out to me too, and are in focus. That's really cool. I really. There's not, I mean, I feel like the only thing that I could make a suggestion on this photo is maybe brightening up his face a little bit so that I can see his eyes a little better, and then just his face being a little brighter, and that would just draw me right into him even more. But I think it's a very well done image, and I'd give this a 10.
This is Hunt Mesa Overlook.
Very nice. I love the perspective on this. I think it's there's a lot to see in this image, and I like what the nice golden colors in the foreground with these rocks, and then that road leading me into the scene there in the valley. And then the nice structures in the background. Everything seems to be, except for in the way background, everything seems to be in focus from the foreground all the way to those, the back mesas, but which is great. I like that. So well done there. Also the color palette is more of a subdued color palette, I feel like. And I think that works well with this scene. I think maybe the only thing I could suggest is maybe bringing down the whites a little bit, or the brightness, and maybe the blacks, and just adding a little more contrast, just so that we can see a little more separation in colors. But I think that's preference. And this scene, I feel like maybe a little bit of vignetting might help me even draw my eyes toward the center even more, but I'm kind of getting picky there. So I think the clouds look great. There's nothing really blown out, but I would give this image a 9.
Gathering place.
Gathering place? Okay, sorry. I think my computer cut out there for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Very nice. I love the color palette on this, with the fall leaves. And then with the nice gray rock in the background surrounding it. That looks great. And it's really cool how it's coming in from the top there, how you photographed it, and then have that center section of leaves. And I really like the pop of green with the moss that's on there. That's really nice addition. Yeah, those colors are great, and it's, you have a nice mixture of leaf colors, and then that granite, or that rock, that gray rock, is a nice contrast. I'm just trying to see. The only thing I would suggest is, and this is, because I do like having those leaves at the top come in, but like if you did a square crop on it and just maybe cut out those leaves at the top and just even have that bottom section, I think it would just be as nice of an image. But that's just a suggestion. I'm just trying to cut it off with my hand, even just to see what it would look like. But it really adds to the composition too if you kept it the way it is. I'm just thinking of a suggestion with something to change it that would make it look a little different. But no, I think you've done a wonderful job here. And there's no major bright areas or too dark areas. I think it's a very nice image. I would give this a 9.
Aspen Shadow Trail.
Okay, very nice. I love this road. I know this is on, looks like Last Dollar Road up by, down by Ridgeway and Dallas Divide area. I love this tree tunnel is fantastic. I've shot this before, and it's so much fun, and it can be very difficult, if sometimes impossible, not to have a vehicle coming through this spot. So kudos to you for waiting or being patient to not have any distractions of people or vehicles coming through, because I know that can be difficult when shooting this area. This tree tunnel is fantastic, and I like the angle that you shot it at. And having those tree shadows on the road, that looks really neat, nice. And then of course I always like roads or paths with it that have the leaves, the dead leaves that are down on the dirt road. So nice job. I would say maybe the only suggestion is those tree trunks on the right-hand side of the scene. I would bring down the brightness of those, or I would maybe crop it out and just not include that section. Maybe make this one, for some reason I feel like the way it was shot and the way my eye is wanting to go up the road, that if you cropped it even as a vertical shot, that would get out those distracting brighter trees on the right-hand side, and then you would just have the road leading you into the scene. So just a thought. And then the clouds on that right-hand side in the background are also, so that would crop those out too, but those are a little bright. I think I would just bring the brightness down to those white clouds there in between that and that section. But otherwise, my eye is nicely drawn toward the back of that scene, which is great. And I feel like that's where you should have your focus on. But nicely done. I would give this an 8.
Converging arcs.
That's cool. I'm not sure what kind of fruit that is, but it almost looks like it's either been sliced or dissected somehow. And I love it adds a lot of really interesting element to it. And those lines, and creating those lines and contrast between the yellows and the greens, and kind of separating out those different sections. It looks really, really cool. And on that black background, it really makes it pop. I think the colors look great. And I like the angle too. I mean, you could have photographed that with it at different angles, but I think this angle looks really great with this, with your setup. And then just a nice few pops of red in there really, really add something to this. I think the only thing I could suggest is maybe the brightness toward the very edge of the fruit on that right-hand side, but I would just bring it down maybe just slightly to match. But other than that, I think it's a wonderful image, and just really like the artisticness of it and the uniqueness of it. I would give this a 9.
Painterly impressions of Dubrovnik.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that definitely has that artistic painterly feel to it. That's cool. That's cool that to do something like that with this image, and it works well because of all of those. I love the tiles on all the rows of these buildings, and then it just creates just a different feel, an artistic feel to it, and I like that. I think the colors are they're nice subdued colors and soft. And then that's probably also caused by the painterly feel to it. But yeah, the soft colors are really nice in this image too. I think the only distracting thing for me, it would be the on the rooftop of the building closest to me, or to the camera. There's a white drainage strip that's coming down, and that's really bright in this image. I think I would just bring down the brightness of that because I'm a little bit distracted by it. But and then I'm not sure about, and this is just personal preference, I'm not sure about when you're doing the painterly fill on something like this. If you can.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Sure.
I think we're not seeing the whole picture at the top.
I can see the ocean, or I'm assuming that's the ocean in the background. That looks really cool. I feel like there's a great balance of the painterly feel throughout the scene. I think it's, for me, and I think it's a personal preference, but the evergreen or that tree on the green tree on the right or the left-hand side feels like maybe it is too painterly. But I mean, I think that's a personal preference. So maybe just adjusting that just slightly to give it a better balance. I feel like that's more painterly than the rest of the scene, but maybe it's just me. But I think I really like the color palette on here being softer. And I think, like I said, the tiles and the way the roofs are repeating throughout the scene, I think it works well. So I would give this image an 8.
This is Body Waves by Joe Bonita. Are you still here, Joe?
Yeah, I have to get my microphone up. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. This is actually a single image that's been duplicated one over the other and rotated slightly so that it makes the curvy wave thing and then going up. It's a woman's body shot from the, I don't know, sort of from the side, you know, maybe a 3/4 view under studio lighting and then put together.
Very, very cool. I did that.
Good. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Got Milk by Todd Lytle.
Thanks, Wendy. Thanks for doing a great job tonight. There were a lot of really great images, and I feel humbled, mostly because I didn't shoot any fall colors. But I did mention at an earlier competition that one of the only really fantastic highlights for me for 2020 COVID was a trip that I took to see my parents, and I ended up driving to Ohio, and then I took a very, very long way home. So I drove about 5,000 miles total and didn't take a single mile of interstate. This was which was ultimately the road less traveled was what made it a lot of fun. I'm reading from my other screen. This was right on the Missouri-Arkansas border. There was a state park, and the state park was called Mammoth Springs. And Mammoth Springs, in its heydays in the late 1800s and early 1900s, was just a train stop and a mecca for tourism because of this fabulous springs that still exist there today. This is an 1886 Frisco Train Depot Museum that's within that state park. And so it was just a recreation of kind of life and times in the late 1800s. And so, yes, they were. That's the way we used to start when we got the milk, but not in my lifetime. So thank you.
No problem. Well done.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Moonlight and Steel, also by Joe Bonita.
This was shot in a, what should I call it? It was a port. These are cranes for loading and unloading ships. Yeah. And it was done in the evening, but I blackened them, just made them silhouettes. The moon was just in the wrong place, so we had to move it. But that's what the image is. The original title of it was Steel Mantises in Moonlight, because they look to me sort of like a praying mantises.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
That's Between the Mittens by Butch Mazuka.
Yeah, first of all, I apologize. I had a real problem with that mute button before. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. This was actually a grab shot. I was in Monument Valley, and I forgot what parking lot I was in. I think it was Golding's. And I was walking out. I was going to go out in the field and shoot some sunsets. And I looked over, and I saw this photographer setting up with this young girl. My guess was it was probably high school graduation photo or something like that. And so I was just watching, but I moved way off. Besides, he was using one mitten as a backdrop. And I thought to myself, well, maybe he's going to move later. But I thought about 20 feet over, 25 feet over was a much better perspective. So I waited. He took a break. The girl was relaxing. I waved my camera in the air. She kind of looked at me, and I told her, I pointed to my left, her right. She turned. I took about 3 or 4 shots, and I walked on my way.
Oh, well, that's awesome. Well, very well done.
Sometimes it's good to be lucky.
Yeah, that's really cool to have the human element in there, and it's just the way she's dressed. It just adds to that scene anyway. So, being in Monument Valley, nice.
Thanks, Butch.
Surely.
Fall Fantasy by Ron Schaller.
Wendy, you were right. This isn't Colorado. It's in the White Mountains in New Hampshire at Franconia Notch State Park. And it's just a wonderful place to visit, just the variety of plants and subject matters like bridges and things. And I like your suggestion. I wish I would have taken that last long exposure shot.
Oh, no worries. I mean, it's a very well done image, and what a beautiful place to visit. I have to go there someday.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thanks, Ron. Discarded but Beautiful by Oz.
Yeah, so we were up in the mountains this fall and found some nice leaves, and the wind was blowing. And I thought this leaf would be great with backlighting. So I took it home in the ice chest, kept it cold, and then the next morning I strung it up and had lighting coming through in the morning through the window. And I had it tied up with a thread. So I had to remove the thread from the stem. And then I played with it in Photoshop And the edge of the leaf is just drying, so it's kind of whitish and outlines the leaf. So that's what I did there. Incidentally, on the cut fruit, that was actually a leaf. But anyway, that's it for me.
That's great. Nice job.
Thanks, Az.
Thank you.
Canadian Colors by Brian Donovan.
Yeah, I took that up on the western shore of Hudson Bay in Canada, and that's a Hudson Bay wolf.
Awesome. Well done.
Oh, that's pretty neat. Well, thanks, Brian. That's all the tents. Now we have 2 critique photos. Let's see, is that Fall Over Frisco?
All right, I think that's a great image. I again here with the use of getting the rocky background there. I love that, and then the trees, the great fall color and that contrast with the greens and everything. I think this is a really great scene. I think the suggestion I would make is maybe bringing down the brightness a little bit and then adding, taking down the blacks, and then I sometimes will do taking down the blacks and then adding some of the lights back in instead of using my contrast or definition type of sliders. But that seems to give it a more natural looking contrast, and I think in that would separate out some of that brightness and also make those colors pop. That would be my suggestion. The rocks, maybe just bringing down the exposure on the rocks a little bit too, because I think darkening up the rocky part of the image would add some nice, make the colors of the aspens pop even more, and then add that contrast of the darkness of the rocks. I think composition-wise, I think, and the placement of the evergreens looks really nice. Yeah, I think that's about what I would say for this image. I think just adding, like I said, a little bit more contrast to add and bringing down the brightness a little bit would be my suggestion. But otherwise, I think it's nicely composed, and I like the addition of the rocks with the fall color. So nice job.
Standing Tall.
That's cool. Adding the contrast between the city and then the nature. I like that. And I like how the composition is with the trees there, the evergreens in the foreground, and that diagonal on the evergreens, kind of separating out then the distant background with the city in the background. And your horizon looks good. Like I said, the composition wise, I think that looks very nice. I think my suggestion would be to because it appears as if, and maybe that's what the photographer is going for, but it appears as if there's some smog, or like it was very foggy day, or hazy, I shouldn't say foggy, like a hazy day in the background. So to bring some of that haziness down, I would bring the brightness down a little bit on the city. Yeah, I think I like that it's brighter than the foreground just because it gives a nice contrast. So I just bring down the brightness a little, enough to where you can get a little bit more definition in the buildings in the background is my suggestion. And the sky seems a little bright, so maybe using a graduated filter to help bring down the brightness of the sky. But my eye is drawn to the city, which I like. I like that it's being drawn into the city. And then, like I said, the contrast between nature and in urban life. I think it's a fun scene. Yeah. I mean, because I feel like the trees in the foreground look really good. The only other distracting element for me would be the blurred, kind of bright tree on the very low right-hand corner is either cropping that out or bringing the brightness down on that because it is a little bit of a distraction. But otherwise, I think, like I said, it's nicely composed, and but just that haziness is a little bit distracting. So just maybe bringing that haziness down a little bit.
Well, good. Thanks, Wendy. That concludes our competition. Wendy, you're fantastic. You really helped us a lot with showing us not only what looks good, but how we can improve the photos. What a way to finish up the year with you judging for us. Thank you very, very much.
Well, thank you. You have a very talented group of people. It was images, and it was a joy to do this.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the compliment, and I'm glad we could have your expertise and knowledge to help us. And I hope you have a good Thanksgiving, whatever you're doing.
Thank you. You all have a great Thanksgiving too. But I'll be eating too much tomorrow, I'm sure. So.
Well, thank you very much, Wendy.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Wendy, very much.
Bye. Thank you, guys.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.